Well, greetings consciousness, welcome back. So in this video we are talking about just how many gods were there in the Garden of Eden. It is very interesting what is said in this Bible. And so they said Moses is the one that wrote the Torah, the 5 books of the Old Testament. And so Moses, being the author, talks about God creating the heavens and the earth. He created man in his image, placed Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden on the right hand side or the eastern side of the Garden of Eden. Now Adam and his wife were commanded not to eat of the tree of good and evil or the tree of knowledge. But Adam, obviously, as we all know, did partake of the tree. And so they said, God said, man has become like one of us. Man has become like one of us, knowing good and evil. And so I said, we hold it right there. How is it that man has become like one of us when there's only one God? Because the Bible believes, or those who follow the Bible believes in one God. In fact, if you read Deuteronomy 6 and 4, Moses makes it clear to the Israelites, behold, Israel, the Lord thy God is one. So if the Lord thy God is one, how come in Genesis 3, God is talking and saying man has become like one of us? Who was he talking to? Was there somebody else standing there, or some other gods standing there? Because it sounds like he was speaking to somebody. Behold, man has become like one of us. He couldn't have been talking to himself. And so there must be somebody else, or there could have been somebody else there. Am I right? But you see, how can you teach this book, believe in one God, and you have such a statement in this Bible at the beginning, saying man has become like one of us? Obviously, these people must have known, or Moses must have known, about multiple gods. And we know the God of the Bible is, Yahweh or Yahuwah is Satan. But if you restrict yourself to one book, or these 66 books of the Bible, then you're going to find yourself in a lot of trouble. Because how do you explain to your congregation in your temple, synagogue, or church about this statement when you are preaching one God? How does man become like one of us as gods? Right? But when you enter Kemet, or from the Kemetic teachings, you realize there are many gods. We talk about Atum being the supreme, and his mind is a spirit that creates, and this spirit mind created other gods, the cosmos. You see? And so the Kybalion from Kemet again talks about the universe is mental. And so you are told you are created in the image of God. God is just a title, but everybody's got a name for the supreme. And in Kemet they call him Atum. A-T-U-M. So if we are created in the image of Atum, we're not talking about our physical aspects, because he is spirit. And through his spirit mind created all things. And he wills a thing in his mind and it comes to being. So we can relate to this type of idea. You see? Because there is nothing that we have brought forth that was not first created in our minds. Whatever we have created in the physical, the desire first came in our minds. Though it existed in our minds, it was not physical. And in fact, I've said in the past, if you cut your head open in two, there is no one thought that is still in the mind or can be seen in the mind. There's no one image. And yet we get millions of images in our minds each week, passing through. We think of people in our minds even with our eyes closed, and we still see their faces. If you want to create a table, a bed, a car, you first visualize it, and then you create it in a physical. That is the concept of us being in an image of God. Not that God is a physical man in space who look like us. You see? And so since we knew about these God, who are the administrators of nature and the zodiac, we understand Saturn, the Sun, Moon, Mars, Jupiter, Venus, these are all gods. You see? Those who have done your research, you will know that Yahuwah, whom the Jews speak of, is Saturn. So religions just took one of these gods and worshipped them. That's all. But these seven are known as the seven lords, the seven angels of the Christian Bible, the seven netters of Kemet. Nurturing, that's where the word netter comes from. Nurturing, nature. When man needs help, these are the beings that comes and aid us, always influencing our minds. Since the mind is spiritual, they send their energy, their thoughts in our minds. That's how we relate, or we have conversations with them. Mind interacts with the gods like this. You see? Because if you do not have this idea or with this knowledge, since you are on this planet, alive, not dead, it behooves you to think or seek this type of knowledge, so you know how you interact with the hierarchies, the celestial beings. Because you can't go direct to God. He's got servants. You see, he has his servants. When you ask for something, these servants are the ones who would come to your aid. Not the supreme. He ain't going to leave heaven and come to you. He is heaven and earth. So when your Bible talks about man has become like one of us, you need to understand what the concept is. Otherwise, you be in the wilderness, la la land. You see? Wonderland. Confused, thinking, how can this be possible when we have one God? And yet, we are told man has become like one of us. This is why people are limited in terms of knowledge. In order to have understanding of how things work, you need to step out of the one book. Because if you don't, you will never be able to explain to your congregation why this verse is in the Bible. That man has become like one of us. One of who? If Deuteronomy 6:4, Moses tells the children of Israel, behold, ye O Israel, the Lord thy God is one. Then where does this one of us come from? In Genesis 3. It's confusing, very confusing, you see. But now that you know about the seven lords, whom the Egyptians called in Kemet the netters, at least now you have some understanding what your Bible was talking about, because we are in the image of Atum. our minds, because mind is spirit, and we are in essence spirits in a form. Just as the sun is a spirit, what you see is just the manifestation of his form, physical form. The moon, everything, the earth is spirit, and it has life in it. Therefore, when you plant a seed in it, the seed germinates. If it was dead, it would not be able to produce anything. Dead things don't produce, but it has life in it. You see? And then you need the moon and the sun to bring forth that which you have sowed in the earth. Huh? Rain and the light for this plant to survive. And since you know the moon controls the water or the ocean on earth, and we are about 75% water in our own beings, then you must understand these things. The Chinese symbol yin and yang is because they knew about masculine and feminine aspect of creation. Thus we have the sun and the moon. And so now we understand man has become like one of us. There were multiple gods. You see? And so I'm going to leave this video, and I'll see you again soon.